Hello and welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. Today we're going to take a look at our first video for match day 2, and it's going to be the wildcard guide. Now, we are going to be doing a limitless guide at some point over the weekend as well, so if you are on that chip instead, that video will be coming very soon. But even if you're not on a wildcard, this could be useful for you because we are going to have a lot of useful information. As we are wildcarding in match day 2, it means there is going to be a lot of planning for the upcoming match days, for the future match days, way in advance, you know, a couple months down the line still, for match day 7 and 8, etc. We are only going to have 2 transfers to manage each match day from now on, myself included. I am on the wildcard 2 strategy, so we are going to have to pick and play players who are going to be pretty much locked and nailed in their squads, because for the next few match days coming, only having 2 transfers, a lot of the time is going to have to be used on injuries, potential suspensions as well, but usually injuries is the main focus of transfers. You don't really have that luxury to make, you know, luxury moves on fixtures. So on this wildcard, we really have to be picking talisman and players that are just going to play in every single match. Now, to start the video off, we're looking at our fixture ticker. Now, we've got an updated fixture sheet with fixtures in order of the best fixtures down to the worst fixtures from match day 2 to match day 8. Now, obviously, picking a wild card for match day 2, we are still going to have a limitless in the bag. Now, for me, that is going to be used in match day 5, but for some other people, it could be potentially used in a different game week. But what we're going to do today is look at all of the fixtures from match day 2 to 8. So obviously we can pick 15 players, and we don't want to have really any problems going forward, because we're going to experience problems in these next upcoming match days, and that is probably going to come through injuries. So you don't want to have any silly transfers to make because a player gets dropped, or you've picked someone purely for match day 2 and going forward they just don't really look like a good option with really bad fixtures, etc, etc. So we want to look at primarily the green fixtures, and again we can take away all of our red and white fixtures, and it's going to leave us with just the greens. Now, what we want to do is obviously pick, you know, teams that have a lot of green fixtures from match day 2 to match day 8, which you are going to see quite a lot at the top. Now, the first one that springs to mind is going to be Napoli. They have the best fixtures from match day 2 to match day 8, and they have a very consistent run. It's only match day 8 which is going to be the difficult fixture, which means we can have Napoli players from match day 2 to 7 and not really have to worry about it. Similar with Juventus, match day 3 is their only difficult fixture there. Barcelona are looking pretty decent. It's not awful for them, you know, match day 2 and match day 5. If you're like myself, using the limitless in match day 5, then you can avoid that for Barcelona, Chelsea, Bayern Munich and Spurs. And you know, looking around those, they have some really nice fixtures. So, you know, Barcelona really only have a tough fixture in match day 2 for me, where they play PSG at home. And then other than that, it's just a big line of green fixtures. So that's kind of what it looks like in a spreadsheet form. If you do prefer it on a nice graphic like this, I've made a list of the teams that have at least 5 of the remaining 7 fixtures as a green. So we've got 7 teams in here: Napoli, Juventus, Barcelona, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Spurs and Liverpool. So these are going to be the teams that you're going to want to focus on for your wildcard, because they're going to have majority of their fixtures are going to be, you know, nice fixtures. So as long as you're picking players who are getting minutes and are starting every game, you should be in a pretty good position, and those 2 transfers every week are going to be enough to keep your team looking good for each individual match day. Now, obviously, home and away is going to make some sort of a difference. So if you want to focus on a lot of the home fixtures, Barcelona are looking really, really good, having a home fixture in match day 2 and match day 3. Napoli being the big one here, match day 2, 4 and 5, they have a home fixture. If you want to look a little bit more, you know, difficult in teams to potentially avoid, Bayern Munich obviously have Paphos in match day 2, so you really have to have Bayern Munich players on a wild card. But going forward, match day 4 and match day 5, away fixtures to Arsenal and PSG, 2 of the hardest teams to play against in the world. After that though, again, a really nice run of fixtures. So again, if you are like me on a limitless in match day 5, it is really that PSG fixture in match day 4 that is the only concern there. Everything else looks really nice for those guys. Spurs and Liverpool both open up in matchday 2 and 3 with away fixtures, even though they are still pretty favourable fixtures. So I wouldn't put that, that wouldn't put me off putting any of those players in your teams. Outside of this, there is still a couple of teams that you definitely want to keep a look at. They don't have 5 green fixtures, but they do still have a really nice run purely at the opening few games of the wild card. Matchday 2, 3 and 4 is really favourable for the likes of Inter Milan, Newcastle. They both have really good fixtures in matchday 2, 3 and 4. Again, if you maybe are using a limitless in matchday 5, matchday 6 is where you would look to take these guys out. But from matchday 5 onwards, Inter and Newcastle are going to be teams that you're probably going to want to move on. So again, you don't want to be stuck, whether it's matchday 5 or whether it's matchday 6, you don't want to be stuck with double ups of both of these teams and you've got 4 or 5 players that you really need to try and take out, because they're probably not going to be the only issues in your team as well, and you don't want to be taking lots of -4s. It just isn't the way to go in such a short form tournament. So I think with like Newcastle, you can definitely pick up maybe one player from Newcastle with their nice fixtures. Obviously a really solid defence and really nice cheap defenders, so a Newcastle defender will probably be a nice option on wildcard 2, but you are going to want to take them out later towards the end of the league stage. Inter Milan is a little bit different. They obviously have 3 extremely favourable fixtures: Slavia Prague at home, Union SG away, and then Kairat at home in matchday 4 as well. So 3 extremely favourable fixtures for Inter Milan. So again, you are really going to be tempted to want to go for a double and a triple up, which is fine. You're still getting 3 match days out of them. It's not like you're focusing on one match day and getting way ahead of yourself. You can still have 2 or 3 Inter Milan players, but just make sure that you have a plan for match day 5 onwards. I think for me, I would quite happily still have maybe 1 against Liverpool at home, then they play Arsenal at home. The fact that it's home fixtures, I wouldn't be rushing to take them out. If you are maybe taking against Atletico away, I still think they could do okay against Atletico away, but I definitely wouldn't want more than 1 player, if that makes sense. The likes of Denzel Dumfries, for example, I think you probably could keep him, if you do have other fires in your team. I think he's someone that still can do well. We saw him score 2 goals against Barcelona in the semi-final last year, so he's definitely someone that can play well in the big games anyway. So if you have other problems, I don't think the fixtures are going to be a huge difference for him. But the likes of maybe a Hakan Çalhanoğlu, maybe he's someone that you're going to want to look at taking out at some point, in matchday 5 or later. Arsenal, on the other hand, as well, I think I'd mainly be looking at their defenders here. I think the Arsenal defence, if you can double up on them, is going to prove to be fantastic over the entire league stage. I think Olympiacos at home is really looking like a nice chance for a clean sheet there. Even Atletico Madrid at home, Arsenal are just one of the best defences in the world. In terms of attackers, I don't know if Gyökeres is worth it compared to the attackers that you can have in the game. Saka as well is a little bit expensive. So in terms of Arsenal players, in terms of fixtures, it's not fantastic. It's just good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. But I definitely think you could get away with having, at least 1. I definitely would have at least 1 defender in your team, but you could definitely potentially look at 2, and definitely get away with that as well. Now, last match day we spoke about the prospect of having a Barcelona starting goalkeeper and PSG starting goalkeeper for only 9 million combined. Now, that has unfortunately been blown right out the window because it came out this morning, as of recording this, that João Garcia has picked up an injury which is going to keep him out for about 3 to 6 weeks. It could be longer than that, which means he is very likely, or pretty much guaranteed, going to miss matchday 2 and matchday 3. So unfortunately, that dream is out the window to have those 2 basically premium goalkeepers at such a cheap price. So I have had to have a look around and see if we can find any more decent goalkeeper pair-ups, and there was one that did show up. Obviously trying to keep as cheap goalkeeper pairing as possible is the way to go in this game, and you can have a double up of 2 4 million goalkeepers. The only problem is they just don't really rotate very well at all. You've got Alex Merritt from Napoli, who I think is going to be the number one goalkeeper, but that's very much up in the air. We've got Milinkovic-Savic, who pretty much rotates with him. So, on a wild card, as I said, you want to be going for players that are absolutely nailed, and I don't really think Merit does give you that solidity. And you could be looking at a couple match days where he is rotated. Jaros, on the other hand, looks as though he's the number one for Ajax. If you're an Ajax fan or know a bit about Ajax, let me know down in the comments. But he's started in every single game this season so far. He's on loan from Liverpool, and he's on only 4 million. Now, the issue is that their fixtures aren't too great, and Ajax aren't, the best of teams / defences in the tournament, so you could struggle a little bit with that. So while you can get goalkeepers for 8 million combined, it's probably not going to be the best choice. If you are a little bit more risk averse and you do want to go for Alex Merit on the wild card, a really nice rotation for him is going to be Geronimo Rulli. Now, Marseille look pretty decent against Real Madrid in matchday 1, and they have the 7th best fixtures going forward until matchday 8 as well. So a really decent goalkeeper choice for him, and he rotates perfectly with Alex Merit, especially if you are on a limitless in matchday 5, because that's going to be the only time where they do play on the same day, excluding obviously matchday 8, and obviously a really, really decent opportunity. Now, if you aren't on the limitless in matchday 5, you still can probably just play Alex Merit against Karabag and hope for that clean sheet. Obviously, the problem being you don't know if he is going to be the starting goalkeeper at that point. So it is a risky pick, but you can save yourself 0.5 million if it does pay off. And obviously, some really nice fixtures in there, a lot of greens to go with. However, my favourite goalkeeper pairing is going to be Lucas Chevalier and Geronimo Rulli. So obviously, looking at both of these goalkeepers so far, PSG and Marseille, two very decent teams. And again, Rulli has the fixtures and Chevalier obviously has the defence. The PSG goalkeeper, 4.5 million is just a great bargain to have, and you can rotate that with another 4.5 million goalkeeper who just has really nice fixtures, and again, they rotate absolutely perfectly all the way up to match day 8. So you're getting match day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can have both goalkeepers playing, and you are also getting at least one green fixture from your goalkeepers in every single match day. So Rulli in match day 2, Chevalier in match day 3, Rulli in 4, 5. You can pick whoever you want. In match day 6, Rulli does have the better fixture. And then match day 7 and 8, it looks as though Chevalier is going to be the better pick. Now, obviously, you don't want to be wasting your transfers on goalkeepers, and having a fantastic rotation all the way up until match day 8 looks ideal. So for me, this is the goalkeeper pairing that I have found, and it's the one that I like the best. As we move into injuries, I've got a list of injuries that have kind of appeared over the last couple of weeks, or you would potentially want to know about because of the popularity of certain players. So Rafinha and Jogan Garcia have both picked up an injury this week and are going to be out of match day 2, and then potentially, well, it does look as though it's pretty much confirmed match day 3 for Jogan Garcia as well. Unfortunate again for us on the wild card, because I definitely would have Rafinha, but he is going to be missing match day 2, and he's probably going to have to be somebody to transfer in at some point later down the line. The same with these Chelsea guys. I'm going to be honest, I had my wildcard draft set out the day after match day 1 finished, and I had both Palmer and Tosin in it, and they both are going to be missing a fair chunk of time. Match day 2 and 3 confirmed, and potentially match day 4 as well. Again, really unfortunate, because Chelsea have a lovely run of fixtures, and we're not going to be able to pick up Cole Palmer on a wild card, and he's probably again going to have to be someone that we look at as a transfer in at some point later down the line. Dembele and Dewey are still out and are going to be missing match day 2. And then Trent, of course, picked up an injury in the first couple of minutes of match day 1. He's going to be missing match day 2 and 3, and then potentially missing the Liverpool game in match day 4. Now, obviously, we had our 10 target teams earlier on in the video, and these are some of my favourite players from each of those teams, and in no specific order, but they are just kind of players that I've looked at and think could, be of decent value to pick up on the wild card. So we've got Merit, Spinazzola and Højlund from Napoli. Again, not necessarily these are players you should go for. They're just some players that I've picked from each team that I think, look pretty decent. The likes of Spinazzola, he's only a 4.5 million defender and he's got a goal and an assist so far this season, so a nice value pick. Again, whether you want to lock in his minutes from match day 2 to 8 is another question, and is definitely something you're going to have to consider yourself, how much risk you do want to take on the wild card. Yildiz and De Gregorio were the only two I found from Juventus that I felt were worthy of picking. Yamal at the minute from Barcelona I think is really the only one I would choose. I don't think I would pick any defenders. Obviously with Garcia out injured, that rules him out as a pick. Rafinha out injured rules him out as a pick, and then even like the likes of Lewandowski and Ferran Torres, they seem to be exchanging minutes quite a lot. Lewandowski came off after 70 minutes in match day 1, and I think you can just get a lot of better value forwards than both of those guys. So for Barcelona, despite the pretty decent fixtures from them after match day 2, I feel like Yamal is the only choice at the minute that you can go for after returning from his injury. Chelsea, Bayern, Spurs and Liverpool have picked out 4 players. I feel like these are 4 teams that you can just, you've got a lot of options to choose from. There's even some that are missing out from here, but I've picked João Pedro, Cucurella, Chalobah and Enzo for Chelsea. Will Cole Palmer's out. Obviously the likes of Enzo Fernandez is going to be taking penalties and he's only a 6.5 million midfielder. For Bayern Munich, you've got Kane, Elise, Gnabry, Upamecano, all in great form. Obviously playing against Paphos in match day 2 as well. Moving a bit further down, we've got our short-term options in Inter Milan, Newcastle and Arsenal. I think Arsenal, again, you can pick long-term. I would really be looking at their goalkeeper and defenders there if you want anyone from Arsenal. And then for Newcastle and Inter, they are going to be short-term picks really for the next 3 game weeks, and you can pick the likes of Anthony Gordon, Burn Livramento, and then for Inter I really like Thuram, Dumfries and Çalhanoğlu. But that's just a couple of ideas. Obviously there are some players missing out here, but hopefully that gives you a start in picking for your wildcard. So with that being said, this is the team that I have opted for my current wildcard draft. Obviously I'm going to have the team selection video out on Monday, so make sure to keep an eye on that, and that might have a couple of changes to this team, and of course we'll have our deadline stream on Tuesday as well. But this is kind of what I've went for at the minute, trying to keep players who I think are going to be guaranteed minutes with a few punts in there. Now obviously I haven't spoke about Real Madrid at all in this video. They do have a very difficult run of fixtures. I think in match day 3 they've got Juventus, 4 Liverpool, and then I think obviously I'll be limitless in a match day 5. I think they've got Man City in match day 6. So I really don't want to have them long term, but this fixture against Kairat Almaty, I really think they could do well, and obviously people will be using their limitless chip this week and potentially tripling up on the Real Madrid attackers. So I don't want to be left behind, and I do feel as though Mbappe is someone that I can keep for all 8 match days. I do expect him to do quite well, and obviously in those big fixtures he still can grab a few goals. Güler could be someone that does come out at some point, even before the deadline of match day 2 he could come out, but I think he's a good one to have for match day 2, potentially keep him, but he could also be someone to come out in a future match day. The defence is a little bit cheaper. I've got 4.5 million defenders all round in Calafiori, Dan Burn and Chalobah. I feel like they do provide good value. Calafiori is a bit of a minutes risk for me, but it does seem to be starting quite well, and at 4.5 million for an Arsenal defender, it does just seem like really good value. And if something happens with him, I can just move to Urian Timber, who's also 4.5 million. Burn and Chalobah, again, just two good options. I mentioned having a Newcastle defender, and he could be a really nice one. Picked up 6 ball recoveries in match day 1 as well against Barcelona, and hoping for a few clean sheets from him. Denzel Dumfries and Thuram as well from Inter. I think over the next 3 game weeks they could have some massive hauls between them, and they will be 2 players that eventually do come out later on in the league stage. And then I've obviously got my goalkeeper double up of Chevalier and Rulli. Already spoke on that. They rotate very, very nicely all the way until the end of the league stage. So that's the way the team is looking for right now. do have nothing left in the bank, so when it comes to transfers, it's going to have to be something that we do potentially do a little bit more planning of, because I'm not going to be able to go for anyone more expensive than the likes of Arda Güler if I do transfer him out. But that is where we are at right now. We are still a good few days away from the deadline, and there probably will be changes to the team, but you are going to be very well kept informed if there is any. Now, if you did enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like. We're going to have lots more Champions League fantasy content coming throughout the week, just before the deadline as well, so make sure you subscribe if you are new. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the wildcard draft, and if there is any players that you think I have missed. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.